All right, so a few months back, we did a video in Lake Itasca State Park where we showed you our inflatable kayak, our Paddle North kayak.
What we wanted to do today is go through and show you basically the setup procedure for it, how we inflate it, how it all goes together, how quick it works, maybe talk about some of the accessories we got that we think are really useful. We've been out in it a number of times now and have gotten some opinions about it and the way we like to use it. A little teaser maybe we can talk about, what we'll talk about later in the review is it really a kayak or is it a canoe?
There you go.
So we can put a link below for the Lake Itasca video where we have a little bit of paddling around in it, but we'll go into a lot more detail today and talk about again how it's all set up, things we like, things we don't like, accessories we got.
Okay, all right, so let's get on with showing the whole process.
So here's the bag. We got the straps off already, so we're going to unzip here and get it out of the bag. Here's the zipper. I got the seats in here. We've got extra pads that we bought. Those are nice accessories to have. We have the paddles. So all the paddle parts in here, and then of course we've got the kayak in here as well. So let's pull this out of the case. Kayak weighs about 40 pounds. I'm not sure what all that includes, but I can move it around, but it is a little bit cumbersome. And you could take this part out. So we're gonna roll it out here. So another accessory that's highly recommended is the inflator pump. We tried pumping this up when we looked at it in the store and knew right away the inflator pump is in my opinion a necessity. You can pump it up by hand, but it should probably take you 15 minutes of hard pumping. So this definitely makes life easier. Second accessory is extension cord for the inflator pump. This is just a 12-volt extension cord. I bought a little heavier gauge just to make sure the wire would be sufficient. And then we're basically ready to hook this up and inflate. A couple other tips here is this inflation valve. There's a release in here on this little pin. You can push it down and it'll pop up, and push it down and it'll stay in. The down position is in the deflate mode. So when you plug this pump in, you want to make sure that this is in the up position. Otherwise, when you get up to 10 pounds and you take this off, all of the air is going to rush out of there. We know that from experience. So always make sure that this pin is in the up position. Attach the pump. Just a little easy twist there. And then when I turn this on, I've already got it set for 10 pounds. So I'm just going to hit the button here and inflate. So there it goes. We're going to start the timer. So we're at 3 minutes 27 seconds on the upper chamber. One tip here is if you turn the vehicle on while you're plugged in, the pump actually runs a lot faster. We about halfway through is when we turn the vehicle on, so that's still a pretty good time here. We'll disconnect on this one, we'll plug into the main chamber, the bottom chamber, and then we'll see how long that one takes. So we're at about 524 for the bottom panel, which is obviously a lot bigger because it doesn't have the big hole in the bottom of it. So that's not too bad. 5 minutes plus another 3, about 9 minutes total, I think, to pump the whole thing up. So that's pretty darn quick. I don't remember if I checked this one.
I think you did. We'll find out.
That's what happens when you forget to push the little plunger down.
So now we got to refill it again?
Yep. And then there's just the little caps for the valves here. Just plug those in and just give them a little twist. This is a high pressure release valve, so if you pumped it up over 15 psi, it's going to release the pressure. The instructions here someplace say, right here, say 10 to 12 psi. I find to be 10 is way sufficient, and you could probably even get by on less than that if you wanted to do that. The way this is constructed is it's called drop stitch technology. So basically between the two layers there's a bunch of fibers that hold the shape, so this doesn't just turn into one great big ball, and that's what allows you to get the high pressure in there and then have everything retain its shape. From here we would just go ahead and put the seats in. So these are the seats. So just know that the seat goes in like this so that you can see the logo out the back. So that's how you know how to get them in correctly. We've already adjusted the straps on these, and so I know that the rear seat is very short here because we want that one as far back as we can go. So I'm just gonna clip these onto the rings here on the back. There, and then these other straps on the sides go up to the floor. And here, so that's the back seat. In the front seat, again, these back straps are going to come back here. And up to the floor up here. And then of course we'd set our extra pads in on top of those seats to give us a little more cushioning. We found that they were seemed to be lacking a little bit. So that's basically the whole setup. One of the other things that they advertise is if you want to take the seats out of here, you can basically, you know, stand up in this and use it as a paddleboard as well. So that's another option as far as being able to use it. So the options for ways that you can configure these paddles. One, you can take these paddle and put it together like this, push the little button in, snap into place, and on this end again we're going to push the button in, snap into place. You can see I've got a pad on this end. We found these very helpful for using it as a kayak paddle, and of course I would have one over here as well. That was really nice because it kind of evens out the transition onto these clamps here, and it's kind of nice to have your hands out, I found, a little bit wider. So that's one option for a paddle. The other option is to remove this end, unclamp this, take that out, and then you can put this end in here, and you can see it's adjustable here to however long you want, and then you can use it like a stand-up paddleboard. So that's another option that you've got here. And then the final option for handle is to remove this piece, take this piece out and put the stand-up paddleboard in this piece. And now what you got is it's kind of it's a short, you know, normally a canoe paddle you want up to about your chin. So it's a short canoe paddle. But when you're in the kayak, or if we want to call it a canoe now, it actually works out pretty well because you are very low to the water. So it is long enough to use it as a canoe paddle as well. So you can see on the bottom here, there's a spot to put the fin in. We've lost our fin. The fin slides in and there's a key that goes in there. For some reason, even with the key in, we lost our fin. So the fin goes in real easy. There's just a slot at the bottom. It just slides in, and then there's this little keyhole basically that just basically slides in and locks it in there. The fin does sink, so it's hard to find. So when I get the next fin, because the fin is very useful, it really helps keep you going straight and tracking, particularly if you're using it as a kayak or a paddleboard. You'd really want that fin in there. One of the things that we've discovered is out of necessity is using this as a canoe. I found it was relatively easy to keep the canoe going straight, much easier than using it as a kayak without the fin. The other nice thing about not having the fin in here is that if you're going through an area where there's where it's very shallow, maybe a rocky bottom, you're going through a lot of weeds, that fin sticks up quite a ways and catches on a lot of stuff. So that being able to take the fin out and use it like in canoe mode is really useful, because as you'll see later today when we get out on the water here and there's a lot of stuff in the water, it's nice not to have to pull that fin through all the weeds and things and stuff like that that you get into. So being able to use it with the fin in and the fin out is very useful. We're gonna order a new shorter kind of a low profile fin for this, which will be a little more helpful. It's also a lot easier to launch close to shore, with obviously without the fin in as well, so you don't have to walk out quite as deep. So one thing that I don't like about the design of this kayak is you can see one of the fill valves is here, and you can see one of the fill valves is up there. So two issues that I don't like about that. One is when you're inflating, particularly if you're in front or behind your vehicle and you've got to stretch that cord out, oftentimes you have to move it in order to get the cord to reach to the other spot. The other part is when you're deflating and you're trying to roll it up, I tend to roll it up from that end first, but you've got this valve that's getting rolled inside as opposed to being able to push all that air out to one end. So that's one thing that I don't like about the design here is it would have been really nice if that valve would have been like right back here behind the rear seat, so that both valves right in the same location. So let's go ahead and deflate. Again, we're just going to pull the little cap off of here. We've got the little valve here. We're going to press that down. And the same thing in the front. One of the options for deflating, if you want to get the air out fast and really get all the air out, is to actually use the pump. There's a deflate side on the pump where you just put the hose on the other hookup, connected to the valves, and you can pretty much suck all the air out of there really well. The last few times we've just been rolling it and squeezing the air out that way. Again, of course, if you can let it sit a while, that helps also. But we've just been rolling it. We've been doing pretty well with that. So we're just going to go ahead and do the roll option this time. Okay, so you may have noticed that we have a tarp underneath the kayak here on the grass. The tarp isn't really necessary for inflating, but we found it to be very helpful when you're actually getting to the deflating place, because when you bring the boat out of the water and everything is wet, and you set it down on whatever surface you're on, you tend to pick up a lot of either dust or dirt or grass or whatever. And one of the things that they want you to do is to dry the boat off as much as possible before you put it away. You never want to pack things away all rolled up tightly with water in them, because you can have mold and mildew problems. So we've got the tarp to keep the bottom of the boat clean when we do the deflation and roll it all up. And then we'll just pack everything back else in around there, zip it up, and we're good to go. So what do you think?
Well, as we said in Lake Itasca, we had kind of started warming up to it. We were a little uncertain at first.
The first day we took it out and paddled with it, I was certain we were going to return it. I think it had a 1-month return period on it. Mm-hmm. We had a very hard time getting comfortable in it. We kept hitting our paddles together. Things like that. So I was very, very sure that we would be returning it.
Yeah.
But after we used it in Itasca a few times, and we've used it since, I think we've really grown to like it a lot.
Agreed. So when we went to Itasca, we used it a couple more times, and we really enjoyed it. And now we've had a chance to use it probably 2 or 3 more times, and we really love it. I would say it's super easy to get into and out of, which is always a challenge for me. The other part that's really nice is the fact that it's inflatable and it folds up as small as it did for Tom.
Yep.
It's critical when you're pulling a rig. Space is at a premium.
Yeah, you have limited places to store it, so finding a spot to put it was one of the big factors, and that's kind of going this route.
We were able to neatly put it into the bay right in front of the underneath the cap on the RV, which is really convenient and doesn't take up space in the truck. And that was space we hadn't used in that that storage bin under the cap.
Right.
So it folds up easily, it moves easily, the two of us can lift it, it's easy into the water, it's easy to get into, it's easy to get out of, and we really enjoyed it paddling even as a canoe.
Yeah, in fact,
I kind of prefer it.
I probably even prefer it. You know, if we were on an open lake and even using it as a canoe, a couple of the things I like about the canoe aspect of it is when you've got kayak paddles and you're dipping in on both sides of the water, you need to have a ring there to prevent the water from running down and running all over you. But even with those rings, you get water dripping inside. And a lot of the time that we're going to be using it, it may be a little cooler weather. So we don't want to get wet. And I've just found with the canoe paddle concept, one, we can paddle it without, we can paddle it without getting water in the boat so much. And the other aspect is we like to go kind of in the back areas, and so going through shallow areas, going through weeds and things like that, it works much better that way.
Total thumbs up for the Paddle North inflatable
totally
kayak. Highly recommend it for convenience, ease of use, ease of storage, and it seems to be, at least so far in our, you know, half dozen times or less that we've used it, it seems to be very high quality made. So we got high recommendations for Paddle North. Look them up. If you have the same kind of needs that we do, it'll serve your needs.
Yep, we love it.
Yeah, so there you have our Paddle North demonstration and review. And drop a note in the bottom if you've decided you'd like to do that, because we're always interested if people kind of follow some of the things that we do.
Or if you found a different inflatable or a different option for your RV that you love, let us know.
So get out there and paddle, because that's what we're going to be doing here momentarily.
Yes.
All right. See you later.